Hey, welcome to Dan's Model Works. And first of all, this is not the video I was planning on making. The video I was planning on making, well, it's similar to what we're doing here, but I was just basically going to cover putting in a radiator in this 55 Ford panel van. And this project has been underway on and off for quite some years. It's had many starts and stops. But as I was getting ready to shoot this video, I think I'm going to be backtracking a bit on it. Now, many of you will recognize this, or maybe you won't, as Monogram's 55 Ford panel. Now, it originally came out in 1977, I believe, and I'll flash up the box art here. This is the original 1977 box art from Monogram's original release of this kit. And as you can see, it was done up as the bad creature and molded in orange. This is the second most recent release of this kit, and as you can see, now it's a Revell Monogram kit, seeing as Revell has long since bought out Monogram. And the wheels are the same, and of course the decals are completely different, although this kit was probably molded in white. This will be the release that most of the younger modelers will be most familiar with, and it's still available on hobby shop shelves. And once again, the decals have been changed. Everything else in this kit is probably going to be exactly the same. And of course, now we no longer even have the Monogram name on the box, but it is the same kit. So now you know the history of the actual kit. I'll give you a little bit of the history of me having this kit. The image I first showed you there, with it being the creature wagon, that was the way I originally had it. So this is basically molded in orange, and I don't think I ever really cared for it. I think one of the things that bothered me is those wheels looked too small, and at various times I had it just basically unpainted orange, and then at some point, for some bizarre reason, I painted it camouflage. And then after that, I had it airbrushed kind of a maroon color. And then it went into my junk box for quite some time. And probably 6-7 years ago, I was building the Revell 1950 F1 pickup truck. And I thought, the alternate wheels, the stock wheels that came with it, I thought, geez, those are awfully nice. And they are. They are really nice looking wheels. Put the hood back on. So what I did is I made a mold of the wheels and the tires, and I cast the tires. Now I was using, I wasn't using Alumilite. I was using a different type of resin material. It was sort of a clear craft product. And the results were okay, not fantastic. But at any rate, I cast 4 wheels, as you can see here. And we may as well take this apart. And I had long since lost the independent rear suspension and a lot of the other suspension parts. And the way I really wanted to build this was stock. So I had actually copied the rear axle of the 1950 F1, but the resin was too flexible, so I ended up only using let's turn it around here, ended up using the center of the differential, and then I had put just tubes on for the axles. And then the white parts you see here, that was me fooling around with the axle spacing to get it just right. And I scratch built the front axle. I'm not 100% happy with that. But at any rate, because I wasn't really happy with the way things were going with it, I ended up just kind of shelving it. And one of the problems is, we put the body on here, the wheels still look too small. So there's one problem. I was never really happy with the wheels. And another problem I had was I didn't have the radiator anymore. So not having the original radiator anymore, I figured I would, before completing this model here, I figured I would copy the radiator from that kit as well. Fortunately, the radiator from that kit comes in a front and back. So these are the molds that I created. And as I said earlier, I was using a clear craft resin. And here is the one part of the radiator, and here's the other part. And as you can see, look how flexible these things are. They never really did harden up, which proved problematic when you were molding something like an axle or something like that, because over time it would sag. While fooling around with the Alumilite casting resin that you're going to see in an upcoming project, although, yeah, you'll see this video before you see that video, I ended up using these molds with the Alumilite to try casting the parts again. So here are the parts cast in Alumilite. Now, I did have to sand them a lot thinner, but basically if we glue them together, put a little bit of putty on the top, we should end up with a really nice looking 1950s Ford truck radiator. So what this video was going to be was me just basically saying, hey, look at the cool radiator I made, gluing it together, painting it up, and mounting it on the front of the truck. And then I was going to discuss what kind of engine I was going to put in here. But while taking a look at what I've done so far, I'm not happy with it. As I said, the wheels seem to be too small. And that's understandable because this kit is 1/25th scale. This kit is 1/24th scale. Usually it doesn't make that much of a difference, but I think in this case, the wheels just looked too small. So that's one of the problems I'm having with what I've done so far. The other problem is I'm happy with the color, but not with the way the paint went on. Just looking at it quickly, it's not too bad, but then you can see there's some rough areas and some areas where the paint did not dry properly. I think it was probably a 35-year-old tin of Humbrol paint I used for it. So I think I'm going to be stripping this. It won't be the first time this has been stripped. Because as I mentioned before, this poor puppy at one point had camouflage on it. It's had maroon paint on it. So I think I'm going to be stripping this. And I'm going to flash up a picture of a 55 panel van now. In this picture of a real 55 Ford panel van back in the day, this one appears to be an ambulance, you can see that the hood line is a lot softer than that which is portrayed in the Monogram kit. So there, as you can see, the hood should be a little bit more rounded, a little softer, not quite so pronounced. But you know what? I think this is fixable. I think a little bit of sanding and filing could reprofile that. So that's something that's fixable. We've got a decent radiator. I think we can work on the body. So what should we do about wheels? We need a larger wheel. This is one of the resin wheels that I cast off of this kit right here. And I think if we take a close look at the wheels as they are painted up, you can see there's a bit of a problem here with roughness around the edge of the wheel itself. But really, let's get close in there, or try to get close in. The hubcaps themselves actually look pretty decent. So I'm wondering, can I possibly find a different set of wheels that I can use? So I've got two kits that I thought might be good candidates. So we've got Revell's 37 Ford and their 41 Chevy pickup truck. So both of these have stock wheels in them. Here is the sprues of the tires. And I've found out something rather interesting about them. in that these sprues are identical, with the exception that this one says B and this one says A. If you flip them over, they actually have the same number embossed on this side of the flap. The curious thing is the tires from the 41 Chevy are no name, as we've come to expect from Revell. The ones from the 34 Ford pickup truck, now mind you, this is an older tooling, they say Goodyear on them. At any rate, are these bigger? If I put these beside, and I mean this is a really sad example here, this is one that really didn't turn out, but if we look at the diameter, this is a larger diameter tire and wheel. Here is the wheel center from, I believe, from the 34 Ford. No, they're from actually the 41 Chevy. So this is the wheel itself. And I have the hubcap from the Ford kit. And I should be able to glue that onto the center like that to create a master so that I can use it for my 55 panel van. And if I don't worry about the hubcap, if I put this in here, as you can see, it has a bit more presence. I know it's not a big difference in size, but I think it will probably be enough. I think it'll probably be worth it to make a new set of wheels using these, because I'm not really happy with these anyway. The quality of the casting wasn't all I wanted it to be, and I know that the Alumilite will work better. So there's one of our problems solved. And I still want this to be a stock 55 panel van. I don't want it to be a hot rod. I want it to be a working truck. And actually, I want it to be from a type of business I used to work in for about a year or so. Only instead of being in the 1990s when I was in the business, it would be back in the 1950s. I would like to redo the suspension to make it an accurate, 1955 Ford suspension. And I mean, I've already got the leaf springs scratch built. The only thing I really lack is an engine. It could be a bit of a problem. So here is the engine that comes with the 55 Ford panel truck, the Bad Creature kit. And I'm 90% sure this is the engine from it, because if we look at here, you can see that the plastic is orange, and honestly didn't have that many kits that were orange. The problem is this, I believe, is a fairly modern Ford V8 engine. What I'd really like to have is a Ford V8 from the 1950s. Or actually, even better, I'd like to have a straight six. A Ford straight six would really be the way to go. But I don't know if anybody makes a kit that has a straight six in it. Of course, I could always scratch build one. Now, according to the research I've done, which isn't a huge amount, but by 1955, Ford had modernized its inline sixes to be an overhead valve design versus a flathead. I was thinking quite possibly I could take the straight six out of the 41 Chevy and maybe tweak the detailing of it until it resembled a Ford inline. I might do that. I don't know how similar they were in overall shape and size. So that's the biggest thing that I still have to figure out for this project, is basically engine. I really would like to have a straight six in it, because V8 is nice, but I mean, this is basically, I want it to be a working truck, something that they wouldn't have spent a lot of money on. So this kit doesn't really fall into the kits I'm afraid to start category, because obviously I've already started this several times over many years. And It's not sort of the project that I can sort of say, all right, this is the new foreground project that you're going to be seeing a video on every second week or something like that. It's not going to be that sort of project. It's probably going to be more like, uh, you might see a video on it, and then you might not see another video on it for maybe a month and a half, and then, oh, well, I've done a little bit more work on it. I don't know what you guys think about this. Whether you think it's even worth it. I think so. I like resurrecting crap from the past. I think the larger tires will certainly help things out. And like I said, I think I could probably make a copy of the Chevy Straight 6 and then tweak the details to get it to look like a Ford Straight 6. So I don't see that as being a problem. It's one of these projects that I want to do, but I know it's going to stretch on forever. So I'm thinking you're going to be seeing more of this project, just not very frequently. But hopefully over time, you will see this all come together and look the way I want to finish it. So thanks for watching, and until next time, keep on modeling.